Welcome to Staples.
Hi, Staples guy. I need to get my kids ready for back to school.
Well, Staples has everything they need at low prices, like comp books for just 50 cents, so they'll be 110% ready.
Wait, that's 10% more ready than totally ready.
Yep.
That extra 10% evens it all out.
Sorry?
Well, I'm usually 10 minutes late getting them to school, so.
That doesn't even it out.
Yeah, sure it does.
Make low prices happen. Make 110% ready happen. Staples. Make more happen. Staples filler paper is just 75 cents all season long.
Limit 30 per customer in-store. Limit 10 per customer online with $25 minimum purchase. Ends 9/12/15.
Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Welcome, everyone. It is Friday night, and you're listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Anthony Agati in New York.
And I'm Lucy Liebfried in Chicago. You are listening to one of the highest-rated paranormal radio shows on Blog Talk. No bull, no lies, just a true platform for everyone to share their knowledge and experiences when searching for the truth. Good communication is key. Now, our phone lines are open for questions or for stories. The number to call is 661-244-9831. Make sure you press the number 1 to get into the queue. We'll try to get to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, our chat room is open so you can post any comments or questions there as well. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paranormal Review Radio. You'll find more articles, blogs, and full show uploads. And if you have specific questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, email us at paranormal.review@aol.com. Now, sit back, get comfy, and prepare to open your minds. It's time for Paranormal Review Radio.
All right, let's try this one more time since we're in good standings now tonight, finally. Tonight we have a very special guest with us to discuss a topic that, we felt could not be discussed without him. In order to properly introduce the magnitude of the experience and talents of our guest, I'm going to recite the very questions that he asks on his opening video on his website, becomealiving.god.com. And here we go. Would you like to develop your clairvoyance so that you could scry directly into the astral plane, see and communicate with spirits, and even receive visions of future events before they happen? Have you ever wanted to conjure the physical manifestation of a demon, angel, or any other spirit so that you could communicate with it, learn from it, and even use its powers to fulfill all of your desires? Do you want the ability to go out of your body and astral travel and even transcend the astral plane, rising into levels of absolute godhood? If you answered yes, then you are in for an awesome interview tonight. Co-creator of becomealiving.god.com, E.A. Koetting is one of the most trusted names in magic. He started in poverty and fell into a life of crime and homelessness, only to transform himself into a self-made success with magic. In the last several years, he's helped hundreds of thousands of magicians experience Ascent. He is the author of over 8 published books on the occult, has traveled the world teaching through live lectures and workshops, and now has brought his message and teachings to all who are ready for them through his online format at becomealiving.god.com. Please help me in conjuring up E.A. Koetting. Hello, E.A. Welcome to the show.
Hello. No, I'm glad to make it on and to actually be speaking with the audience tonight. It's awesome.
Yeah, finally tonight.
Welcome. Welcome. You know what? tonight is actually the first time Anthony and I have brought up the topic of magic and sorcery. And we knew the first person we should have on to discuss them should be you. But I'm sure many of our listeners may not have heard your name. So can you share with everyone who is E.A. Koetting? How would you describe yourself to someone new to the occult world?
Well, really, to describe myself, I would say as a person, I'm a pretty regular guy. I'm an ordinary guy that has ordinary problems in life and ordinary things I've got to deal with. But I've found some really extraordinary ways of interacting with the world, communicating with the world in a magical way that enhances everything. Magic answers problems and answers questions that no other path has allowed me access to. I've studied just about every system I can get my hands on, and I still do. I all of my free time and all of my even working time at this point is spent just pouring through manuscripts and canon literature and everything I can, working with masters and gurus to try to get the secrets of spirituality. And I found really that no matter what the system is, there are common threads of knowledge that everybody is saying the same thing, only they're using different languages. If you can kind of decipher those languages and kind of cut through the dogma, that you'll start to find an underlying system. And so it's that system that I really bring out, that I use in my own practice, and now I'm bringing to everybody else to share these underlying systems of how to get magic to work, regardless of the system, regardless of whether we're talking about Kabbalah, Hermeticism, or prayer and meditation, that the same system underlies it, and the same system can be put into use to make miraculous changes in your life.
Well, how did you begin your own involvement in magic and sorcery? I mean, was there an experience that opened the door for you?
The funny thing is I was kind of drawn to this naturally. I mean, when I was before I could even read, I was coming up with incantations, and I was trying to summon forth powers and spirits, and not even knowing what I was doing. Now, I was adopted into the family that raised me, and I only just a few years ago met my birth mother, and I kind of hesitantly showed her what I was doing with my life, and showed her some of my published works, and I expected her to kind of recoil and go, "Oh my gosh, this is some crazy stuff," but she shrugged and says, "Well, of course you would do this. Your whole lineage have been witches and sorcerers through time, and for generations back, we can trace my actual birth bloodline back, and there's something that traveled through the blood that kind of stimulated and drew me to this. And so it's always been an interest, but I don't know that there was one particular catalyst experience that did this. In fact, I performed probably 20 rituals before I stopped thinking that it was coincidence, because I would do this ritual or cast a spell, exactly what I asked for would happen, and I'd say, that was going to happen anyways, or that's just a fluke. About 20 or more times of doing that, I finally had to say, wait a minute, there's something happening, that when I do these things, something happens in the physical world that's documentable, that I can rely on this to produce the results. And so that's when I really started to take it seriously and look deeper into what's actually causing these things to happen.
Well, there have been magicians all throughout history, both male and female, and in some cultures they've been revered, and in some they've been shunned. Now, they all have hidden knowledge that most never find in their lifetime. Would you say that magic is a calling, or is it a decision that one makes and then follows that path to knowledge?
That's actually an amazing question, because it's one that I am still struggling with. As I teach at this point a lot of people through consultations or just through my video courses and all the things I have available, I get to hear the experiences. What I've seen is that everybody can have success with magic, and by success I mean having a better control over your daily life, having having answers available to you that otherwise wouldn't be, having power to actually change what's going on in your circumstances. But there does seem to be a small minority who excel with it, who when they grab it, they take it to levels beyond anything that most people are even thinking about. So there does seem to be a predisposition, and so that's the kind of the first level of maybe that calling is that some people are just drawn to it to a point that it takes off for them in a way that is amazing, staggering. But then as you look at that, there's also the fact that a lot of people just aren't drawn to this. That when they come across my works or when I have personal interactions and conversations, some people just go, that's good, but it's not for me. And so there's a self-selection process that maybe those people just aren't being called to it. Maybe those who are called to it are the ones who are actually interested in the first place. So what I've seen is that basically anybody who's interested in it can definitely use it. Whether or not you can take Joe Blow off the street who has no interest and get this to work for him, that's really hard to say because he's not going to approach it in the first place.
You know, EA, honestly, I have to say that regardless of your success in magic, your life history is absolute one of amazement. And I mean that with the most sincerity because you seem to have had a struggle with simply living life. You know, you haven't had the Norman Rockwell painting kind of life. But I've heard you say that the power of magic means more than just what it is on paper, that it actually helped you become, I guess, some sort of quote-unquote functioning human being. It saved your life. How did magic do that for you?
Wow. Well, yeah, there was a point. Wow, you know, it's funny. I was just yesterday I was telling my daughter about this as I was taking her to school. She's 10 years old and is starting to fill out some of her own confusions and curiosities about life. And when I was about 18, I'd been tinkering with magic for a few years with some seriousness, not a whole lot. But I found because of trauma, abuse, neglect, etc., in my early life, that I did have struggles. I had struggles in the external world, but more in the internal world. That I was really struggling with just my existence, and so I found myself in a state of almost constant depression. Depression to the point of most of my time was spent trying to teetering on the edge of whether or not I wanted to kill myself, and just end it all. Life was that miserable, and so I hit a point of as I'm reading through these books on magic, these grimoires, and at the same time thinking about ending my life, that I thought, well, you know, why don't I give this a serious shot? If I can use this, I'll put all of my resources, and that's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and throw them into making my life amazing, then I'll have an amazing life. And if I don't, then I can go back to really considering ending it. And so I thrust myself into it with everything that I had, and I started to change my life. I mean, better jobs, better girlfriends, better friends, better everything. My whole life just completely transformed to the point that suicide was the furthest thing from my mind because I was having so much fun, because life had just become so amazing for me. And really, it hasn't stopped to this day. That I haven't ever gone back to the point of going, maybe it's not worth it, because I made it worth it by applying the magic that I was reading about.
So was it the actual applying of the magic then, or was it more of sort of the awakening of yourself?
I mean, both. It's impossible to apply magic without awakening yourself, and right. So they work hand in hand. But the application of the magic changed the circumstances, and so you know this is one of the fundamental, I think, keystones of what I keep bringing out is magic is useless if it's all just a mystical trip of, you know, I went to the astral plane and saw this and that and the other. That's fun. But that's not magic. Magic, by definition, is making a change that is in accordance with the will. And that change, if you can verify it, if you can document it, if anybody can look at the situation and say, okay, it was this, then you applied magic and then it became something else, that's undeniable. And I mean, I've got journals filled, and most magicians out there do have journals filled with cause and effect of actually seeing the world readjust and form around their will that they push out through their rituals. So if it was just a matter of an internal change or like a feel-good self-help type of thing, it wouldn't have been enough, because it wasn't just my internal state, but it was everything in my life. The circumstances of my life were just so crappy that something had to change. And by using my physical force alone, I wasn't able to do it. And it was only by applying magic that I was able to actually rearrange and turn around the fabric of reality to the point that the circumstances in my life had altered to the point of just being absolutely amazing.
You know, I can hear the whispers and voices out there in the listening land of people saying that, you know, black magic or sorcery is evil and some god is going to punish you and, you know, send you to hell when you die, or that you deserve all the bad that you get because of the dabblings and teachings of magic. But, you know, personally for myself, and I've talked about this on the air many, many times, personally for myself, I've been struggling with religion and dogma and finding myself sort of transforming into something more spiritual and awakening. What that is, I'm not sure yet, but you know, getting away from the sort of the mainstream religion side of things. What are your thoughts on religion, and how would you defend magic when religious extremists sort of condemn you or the occult in general?
Well, here's the thing. I present Become a Living God as a try it, and if it works, that's great. If it doesn't work, not only do you now know, but I'll give you your money back. Now, no church out there offers that. They offer that if it doesn't work, your faith isn't strong enough, and they offer if you don't follow our path, you will be tortured for eternity. Now, as a small business owner, if I brought that to my clients, I would be sued left and right, and I would be shut down. But churches can get away with threatening people in order to get money. It's a big, there's a big money industry that's built around fear, and I see that, and it's not right. That's a wrong way to treat people. And so, you know, my whole philosophy is, you know, try it, and first of all, you're going to see that it works, and secondly, try it enough, and you're going to start seeing that not only does it work, but it enhances your life. It makes your life better. It actually forces, like I said, you can't experience magic to the point of altering your circumstances without having an elevated personal growth. And through that personal growth, you're going to find that you become a happier, more peaceful, more joyful person that is actually more actively engaged in your local community, a better person in your family life. In every way, to become better, and so you look at all of that and go, well, and that's really hard to chalk up to being evil. Now, with that being said, you can use magic for evil. Absolutely, you can. You can use any kind of Christian prayer for evil as well. Jesus has talked about dusting his feet on doorsteps, that his apostles were able to go dust their feet on a doorstep, and it would be worse for them than it would be for any sinner on the day of judgment. And it's like you're laying curses through this power. And so, you know, that's available. That's something that you can do as a magician that's actually pushing through towards ascent, towards eternal growth. You're going to start finding that that's a stupid way to live life, to curse everybody that pisses you off. You might do it, and you might reap some evil rewards, but you're going to see pretty quickly that that's just not what you want to have surrounding yourself, because it does. That is the unmistakable truth of all of this, is that it does work. Meaning that when you perform negative magic, you are surrounding yourself with a very tangible evil force, and it doesn't feel good. It absolutely doesn't feel good. And so pretty quickly, unless you're driven by your own psychosis to the point of self-destruction, you're going to want to find something else to do with your time and your energy. And so yeah, I mean, you can use it for evil. You can use anything for evil. But as a whole, magic has proven to me and to a whole lot of other people to be a path of really making you a better person in just about every way.
Well, you know, we're going to get into a lot more with your site, becomealivinggod.com, and also your newest book, which I believe is the Anthology of Sorcery Book number 2. And you may have sort of described it just now when you were just talking, but what's sort of the simplest way to describe or explain what black magic is?
Well, black magic is magic without limitation. And so what that basically means is that the black magician will see himself or herself as being the creator of his or her own universe. And, that being said, we are living in a common observation of reality. Most people will see the sky and it's blue, and they'll see leaves and they're green. But we are able to take this universe that's around us and recognize that we have created all of this, that through our observation of it, it's all part of ourself that we're experiencing subjectively. In order to have that experience, as such, we can then begin to alter it and alter every bit of it as we see fit. The black magician is not restrained by any kind of externally imposed moral code. Instead, the black magician is constrained only by his or her own ethics. And so I've got a pretty hardcore line of ethics, that there are certain things that I absolutely will not do, and there are certain things that I must do in order for me to feel good. And that's kind of what it comes down to is do what feels good. But what feels good isn't going to be necessarily always just the temporary excitement of doing something fun, but what really feels good at the core. And so the life, my life at least, and once again the lives of a lot of magicians that I interact with, are based around that. What feels the best, and how do I make my life the absolute best that it can be? And so it's guided by that core of internal ethics that you discover on your own as you go through life, rather than a book saying thou shalt and thou shalt not. Really, when we get there's a whole debate about the different colors of magic, whether we're talking about white and black magic or the octarine colors of magic. That really, when it comes down to it, black magic is really the only magic that's being performed out there. So somebody who's practicing white magic, they're using magic to create change in the world in accordance with their will. Otherwise, it's not magic, it's mysticism. If they're just using it to gain some kind of union with the all or something like that, that's mysticism. That's not magic. There's no change that's being enacted through in accordance with the will. Now, if you're making a change in a world that is created by the divine, which white magicians do accept a divine creator and sustainer of all things, then your magic is basically telling the creator that it's just not good enough, that what it created for us isn't good enough, and it needs to be changed by a petty human. And so therefore you cross the line into black magic. So really, black magic is the only magic out
there. Well, you know what? I've always thought of magic as knowledge. And I can't help but think of the Bible story of Adam and Eve. I mean, it was forbidden to eat from the tree of knowledge. The serpent is blamed for tempting Eve to taste. But she made that decision to eat that fruit. So in essence, would she be considered to be a sorceress? I mean, she wasn't casting spells, but she did do something that opened her eyes to things she could not see. Isn't this the beginning concept of what magic is?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can all agree that the fable of the fruit is a symbol, and let's say that it even historically happened, which I don't know too many people that will say that it historically happened, but if it did, then we can agree the fruit was a symbol, that the fruit was symbolic of that knowledge, that it itself didn't possess the knowledge or the light, that was a symbol that once eating it opened that door for the individual. And so by that, she was performing a symbolic action which had a very real reaction in herself and in the world around her, to the point that, I mean, that would be indistinguishable from magic. So yeah, by that you could say that if we're isolating that mythology and putting it aside by itself, yeah, that she would be the first sorceress that ever lived.
Okay. Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit, about the things that you can actually do by means of magic, and possibly we can change our reality to one that we want. Isn't this dangerous in some way?
Yeah, it's dangerous in that. Okay, so we are as I said, we have all created this world around us. In the Copenhagen debates, Einstein and a few other scientists got together to decide what reality is. What they came down to is that reality is that which is observed. If reality is that which is observed, reality then depends on the observer. We also know from things like the double slit experiment and quantum physics that as you change your observation of reality, you change reality itself. So what this means is that as we observe and perceive our reality, we're changing it already. The problem is that we're doing it on an unconscious level. So we're creating problems. We're creating obstacles. We're creating distress and disease in our lives unconsciously. What magic does is it makes it conscious. So you're consciously engaging with your world, with your reality, to consciously move it in the direction you want to. That's a lot less dangerous than doing it unconsciously.
Okay. Well, your website is called Become a Living God, and you talk about this a lot. What does it actually mean to be a living God?
Become a living God, first of all, it's a process. It's an ongoing process. The concept and the phrase "become a living God" it really leads to an endless process. That is not be a living God, because that would be you're already it. You can already be it. It's a process of always becoming, and it's always freeing yourself from limitation, to the point that anything that you could call a miracle can be possible for you. That this world becomes completely malleable. See, I really take the opposite stance of most paths that teach that this world is a test, a trial, something that we need to overcome in order to get somewhere better. I propose that this is the somewhere better that we have come, that we have struggled as spiritual entities to enter into this plane of existence, and this is basically the undiscovered country. It's really, really hard to do things here in comparison to the astral plane. When you astral project, you can think something and it appears instantly before you. In this world, you have to do a lot more than that to get things to work. This is a plane and a reality that we're still trying to get our hands around and figure out how to master. And so this is the next stage of our evolution as spiritual beings, the physical world. And so as a living God, we are taking mastery over this plane bit by bit. And so that's really what the whole concept of becoming a living God is all about, is learning how to overcome our limitations that are entirely self-imposed. That when we stop getting in our own way, we find that it actually is pretty easy, but that getting in our way is kind of a constant blockage.
Well, you know, EA, that when we were started to promote this 2 weeks ago for the show, for the show last week, and then for the show this week, it seemed as though a lot of people were getting more engaged and I guess a little bit more anticipated to listen tonight, to try and hear if there were any spells or if there was any magic that they can learn, whether it to gain money or to gain love or to deal with someone maybe that they hate or they don't get along with. And, obviously this is not something to be taken lightly. What are some of the sort of, or do people contact you and reach out to you to try and have you do some sort of spell or magic to conjure up some sort of change in their reality or to change the path for them to help them, I guess, gain a better life or a better existence? Is there some sort of, I guess, commonalities in those requests that are coming forward lately?
Yeah, I do have a service that I provide, just a ritual for hire. So you basically hire me, I perform a ritual in your behalf, and that'll always be accompanied by instructions on how to make the most of that ritual as far as altering your own perception as the client in order to work in coordination with the ritual that I've performed. And I've seen massive success with that. But first and foremost, I want to teach people how to do this themselves. Like, I see a future that's not very far away, 1, maybe 2 generations from now. What I'm teaching now as being the occult is going to be taught in elementary school to children. That medicine once was magic. I mean, science and atomic energy was once magic. That these things that are studied in schools were once witchcraft, and the things that I'm teaching now are pretty soon going to be going by a completely different name. And so I look forward to that, and that's kind of my work, is to get things closer to that point. But in the meantime, yeah, people do come to me with requests to perform rituals. I absolutely do not do any kind of controlling magic where I'm not going to, if somebody has, somebody that they want to completely ensnare and control so that they can be their sex slave, that's not my business. If somebody wants somebody dead, that's something they're going to have to handle on their own. I can give them the information, but that's not an energy that I want in my life, and so I don't engage in that. But I do a lot of work. The biggest, I think the most common requests that I get are rituals for Ascent. That people want to have that energetic essence stimulated in themselves, and that's actually extremely encouraging for me. That they come to me saying, I want you to do this ritual, but this ritual will then allow me to do my own rituals, and those are amazing, because it really is an activation of the full Kundalini chakra current of that individual. It's the energy centers that are able to open up and engage with their world in an extremely active and conscious way. And so those are awesome. I mean, I do attracting love, attracting wealth, helping with legal or financial circumstances. Pretty much any ritual that once again isn't controlling or harming another person, I'll go ahead and do for somebody. And those have amazing success. But by far, people are hungry for their own spiritual awakening. I'm seeing, if I had started BecomeALivingGod.com, if I had started that 10 years ago, it wouldn't even have scratched the surface of how successful it's been. And that's because we've entered into a new phase of reality. I don't buy into the myth that 2012, December 21st, came and went and nothing happened. That we have entered in a completely new part of the universe that we haven't been in for a very, very long time. And in fact, last time we were there is when most spiritual texts refer to as the Golden Age. This is when we walked and talked with the gods. This is when every person out there was a magical spiritual being in the flesh. And we've returned to that point, and people are awakening in masses to their own spiritual potential.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, they talk so much about that December 12th, December 21st date, and it came and went, and everybody was like, oh, it's nothing. But after time and after months that had passed, directly after that, I started to feel, and I'm not a sensitive, I'm not an empath, I'm not. I don't feel as though I am, but I myself felt a shift and a change in things. And I don't know if maybe that was just me personally, or if that was the reality around me or the world itself, but I completely felt that change, and I continually still to this day do feel that change. And so it is a sort of enlightening and a feeling of an enlightenment and awakening. And it's sort of guided me into the direction of learning much more about these types of things and opening myself up to a lot of this a lot more, and maybe it sort of pushed away a lot of that sort of mainstream religion type of things, and maybe that's why it sort of all came together. And so I've started to, I did watch your videos. I watched a ton of your videos, and I have not bought your books yet, but I will, because I'm in love with this new book, the Anthology of Sorcery Book #2. I just love the way that it looks even. But I'm really interested in this, and not so much to actually do it, to do any of the magic or rituals, but to learn about it, to educate myself on it, because again, I believe about just knowledge about everything. But is it easy for someone to to learn about magic, to actually perform magic rituals? Or is there a sort of, I mean, you've taught so many people all around the world. Is there a long process before you would say to someone, okay, I think you're ready?
You know, the process is as long and hard as the individual makes it. What I found is ridiculous, because it's that the magic is easier than breathing once you let yourself get out of your way. You know, and what I mean by that is, you know, there's a book you may be familiar with called A Course in Miracles, and in this text, the author talks about going that you're paddling up a river as you're trying to exert your own force and your own power to make things happen, and that if you just drop the oars and just let yourself go with the river, that it actually leads you exactly where you want to go, as long as you're setting your intention. The magic is very much the same way. The desire, it's so funny, because you have to have an incredible amount of desire in order to first lead you to perform a ritual, and then second, to be able to engage in the ritual to an extent of pushing power into the world in order to change it. But then, once the ritual is performed, you do have to release all of your desire, and actually through the ritual, the different things that you'll be doing in the ritual are going to be cathartic releases for your own desire, your own passions, that you'll be able to get those out of yourself. And once they're out, then they're in the world around you. And then if you can funnel those and direct them towards a goal that you have in mind, then that thing is going to start to change. The circumstances are going to start to adjust. In order for them to adjust, once again, you have to have that desire, you have to get that desire out of you, and you have to let it go. That's the big part that people have the hardest time with, is letting it go. And people being, you know, myself included, when I really, really, really want something to happen, it's really hard to say, okay, so I've done the ritual, I've pushed my power out there, I've gotten my emotions neutralized, and I'm in a peaceful place, and now I'm just going to let it happen as it happens. That's the hardest part. You know, there was a guy of when I was a kid, at least, seeing on the TV, Ron Popeil, that would have all these really cool devices that he would have, you know. And I love that guy. He was actually a genius inventor, and genius marketer as well. But he had a statement that he would say with almost all of his devices: set it and forget it. And that was his tagline: set it and forget it. That with ritual, we have to set it and we have to forget it. And so you have to perform the ritual and then just forget about it. Forget about it and go on with your life. That's really hard for people. You know, one of the things that I read early on, and I think this was, it may have been by Donald Michael Craig, although I could be wrong, is that when you perform, let's say, for instance, a love spell, it's not going to work as long as you're pacing by the phone waiting for the phone call. It's going to work as soon as you forgot about it and you've just gotten on with life. That's the hardest part for people. And so once you can learn to do that, once you can learn to kind of divorce yourself from that intensive desire, or more importantly, less than divorce yourself, exhaust that desire through the ritual itself, and then go on with life, you're going to see that it happens. This is one of the key points that I tell people: if you're performing magic, you need to be keeping a magical journal, because you'll journal down the actual ritual you performed, what you want to have happen, and then you put that on the bookshelf. And then a few months later, you're going to read through that and go, oh my gosh, this happened. Like, I forgot all about this. And that is the key. I forgot all about this. When you've left the ritual, when you've left the energy and the passion that drove you to the ritual in the first place, when you've put it towards the goal and you've walked away from it, that's when it's going to happen. While you're still holding on to it, it's like, it's a lot like fishing. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm a terrible fisherman, because I'll throw my line out there and I'll start reeling it in right away to see if there's fish on it. And you're never going to catch a fish that way. You have to leave it out there, let it sit, and let the fish come to it. And that's exactly what magic is. You have to let that energy cook. You have to let it do its thing, and then before you know it, right as soon as you've forgotten that the ritual was even performed, it all comes about. So that's really the hard part of it.
Well, we've been talking about, magic itself and all about magic and sort of behind the scenes of the magic itself. But what I'd love to know is, while you're performing these rituals and these magic rituals, what's happening within you, within your mind, body, and soul, within your psyche? Is there anything that you're going through? Is there anything that you're feeling? Is there some sort of I guess, I don't know, lack of a better word, change in reality for you that is something that you can express and give us a sort of insight to for those who have not dabbled in it at all?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the gifts that I've been given in this life is to be able to look at the abstract and make sense of it. And so in performing these rituals, I've actually identified 3 specific changes, alterations in your state that are part and parcel of the magical ritual and are essential to magical success. The first is what I call the theta gamma sync. Okay, so scientists started to measure brain waves, and this is specifically back in the 70s. They started really to look at what was happening in the human brain. And in various states of arousal, states of pleasure, and then spiritual states. And what they found is that people could go up to 70 hertz of, actually, no, I'm sorry, I reversed myself. They could go up to 40 to 45 hertz of really brainwave output by concentrating as hard as you can, studying, trying to learn things, trying to memorize. What they also found, though, as they started studying people who are in spiritual states, meditative states, is that when you drop yourself to a low frequency, which is called the theta state, this is right before you fall asleep. It's hypnagogic hallucinations. This is the feeling like you're riding on roller skates right before you fall asleep, and then you kind of jump because you fall, and all of this. The hallucinations you're having right before you fall asleep seem very real. This is the theta state. This is right before sleep. If you can get into that, 4.5 hertz is ideal. And you can hold that for really sometimes a few seconds, sometimes a few minutes. Then you start to trigger these spikes that go up to first up to 70 is the first measurement they took. But they're going, wait a minute, we've almost doubled the brain output by being relaxed. And then they even took that further and started studying people who were doing not just meditation and light relaxation and prayer, but actually engaging in full ritual, dropping themselves into that 4.5 hertz, and then they would have these spikes out of nowhere that have gone up to the measurements of 200 and beyond. And so this is far beyond what the brain is capable of in any kind of conscious activity. And so that's the first state, the theta gamma sync. What you experience in the theta gamma sync is a loss of equilibrium. You start to feel like maybe you're off balance, that you're tumbling within yourself, that you're floating in infinite space. One of the phrases that I've used to describe this is that you're falling through rings of reality, that you feel like the floor is just opened up beneath you and you're falling through it. And that's a really good cue that you're in there. Another cue is seeing what Stuart Weil calls the static rain. And so you see the world around you seems to be separated from you by a sheet of static, almost like static that you used to see on the TV. And that's a really good visual signal that you're in the theta gamma sync. And I'm sorry, I say gamma because those are brain waves beyond the normal 40 to 45 hertz that you can normally do is called gamma, and so that is synchronized with the theta, the low state. Now, when you hold that for long enough, you enter into a point that I call rapture, and this is a point where that the static rain that you're seeing, the energy that you're feeling pulsing through you, the loss of equilibrium reaches a complete peak, and at that peak, you feel like you're about to pass out. You feel like maybe you're breathing too much because you feel like you've got too much oxygen in your brain. But when you think about it, you're actually breathing less than you normally do. You can feel your blood pumping through you, but you're so relaxed. And it's a complete contradiction, or at least contraindication of what your body is doing. And you push that rapture state further. You push beyond the point where you feel like you're about to black out, and you reach what's called the crossroads. The crossroads state, and I take that term specifically from Haitian Vodun. In Haitian Vodun, they recognize that the spirits don't come here fully. You don't go to their realm fully, but you meet right in between. And that's the point where the true magic, especially in forms of evocation, calling spirits forth, occurs, is in that crossroads state. What happens in this state is this world, this physical world, fades away, and it's replaced by either the world that you're trying to see into, the other location that you're trying to view, or the spirit that you're communicating with. And so this world sometimes, for some people, will become completely dark. That at first it'll appear to be fuzzy, I guess would be a word for it, blurry, that it'll become less and less obvious. You won't hear somebody coming through the door right next to you. You won't hear or see people walking around next to you because you are so removed from this world. But you'll start to see lights developing in front of you. You'll start to see figures that'll start to appear, or you'll hear voices that'll start to speak to you. And this is the true magical state in the crossroads. And so those three kind of levels of reaching that fully magically engaged state are key to getting into the highest forms of magic.
Well, you know what? You've talked a lot about rituals. Now, I've always believed in manifesting. I always have believed that, speaking something kind of brings it into reality. But the ritual part about it, in the manifesting that we do, those of us that do believe in manifesting, I don't think I consciously have ever really done a ritual, but in a way, are we doing that when we are trying to manifest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, people are doing rituals to manifest their reality every day. When you get home from work and you kick your shoes off, when you go sit down on the sofa, turn on the TV, and somebody asks you how your day was, it was crappy. You're performing a ritual, and you're manifesting. In that case, you're manifesting what you don't desire by focusing on it. You're manifesting what you don't desire by speaking about it. There are rituals that people go through in order to keep themselves in these horrible states. The funny thing is, and I think possibly both of you have realized this in your own lives, that if you start changing the way you speak, you start to change the way that you are. You start to change the way your reality is, and so those are all huge. This is why in every single religion that I've looked at, every single system that talks about a spiritual creation of reality, it is done through an oration. That you look at the Bible, God spoke and it was. You look at older systems, and it wasn't just speaking; it was singing. That all things were created by a song. One thing that I loved, I think it was Wayne Dyer that said, is that you look at the word universe, and what it is it's one song. And then you look at string theory, and string theory supports that. This is all one oral song that's going on everywhere around us. And if we can change the words that we speak, change the songs that we sing, we can change the reality that we engage in. So absolutely, there are these rituals that you engage in on a very subtle level. Now, when you perform a full-on ceremony where you've got the candles and the incense, that just kind of gets you into a heightened state where you've set apart this space and time for magical events to happen. Now, once you get used to that, you can set apart that same space and time on your sofa or in your bed. That all you're doing is you're shifting your states internally in order to focus on the things that you desire. At this point in my own progress, most of my most powerful rituals are done by just being wherever I'm at, focusing on what I want and letting it explode from me like a shock wave that affects reality. I'll do ritual while I'm sitting at a red light. And, red lights are annoying, they're frustrating, and I want to get to where I'm going. But I'll go inside and I'll focus on the things that I want to achieve in that day or that moment and push it outside of myself, get myself to that low state, let the theta gamma sync engage, let the rapture engage, get myself to a crossroads, push my will out, and then I look up at the light screen and I go. And I mean, that's ritual. It's not full ceremony, but that's okay. The full ceremony with the candles and the incense, that's nice. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do, and it does really, really help you get into that state, but it's not required at all.
Okay. Next thing I want to ask, being part of the paranormal, we do see a lot of symbols in what we study and what we see around us. Now, there's one particular symbol which is actually part of your Becoming a Living God logo, and it seems to be the most misunderstood amongst many of the paranormal and occult groups, which is the pentagram and the inverted pentagram. Can you educate those who may not fully understand why they are not evil in nature, and what do they actually mean?
Oh wow, yeah. The pentagram it's not the oldest, but it is one of the oldest symbols for spirituality and for a unification of the physical with the spiritual. You see, once again, there's this misunderstanding that our spiritual bodies are at war with our physical bodies. Complete misunderstanding. Our spiritual bodies are expressing and experiencing themselves through our spiritual reality. And so the pentagram, it does represent the four elements: fire, water, earth, and air. These are the four alchemical elements united with spirit. That these are all acting in accord. Now, whether or not the symbol is inverted or upright is really irrelevant, except for the fact that triggers something in the consciousness that has learned to associate it with certain things. Now, the reason that I use it so strongly is because I do promote black magic, in that we need to be free. We need to be free from all dogma, all externally imposed dogma, and so I use that because it's definitely been linked in our psyche with the darker, the forbidden, and I will say that these things of magic and witchcraft that we're discussing tonight are absolutely forbidden by our common priestcraft of our time. That the things that we're talking about are the individual becoming their own god and uniting and communicating with their universe, their reality, in a way that completely obliterates the necessity of religion. That's forbidden. That is absolutely forbidden in our time. And so I use the symbol of the inverted pentagram, just to kind of signal and to trigger that Luciferian concept of self-enlightenment rather than enlightenment from an external source. But it does absolutely symbolize the union of the spiritual with the physical rather than the separation of the two.
I'm sure that this next question may be of interest to a lot of our listeners, being that many try to communicate with spirits every week. You did a video a few years back on the result of what you learned from the spirit Azazel, and you mentioned something so profound about what he explained, what spirits are and whether they're real or not. Can you explain what spirits are and whether what Anthony and I see and speak to when we enter a location that supposedly has spirits are in fact spirits, or are they a manifestation of our mind?
Oh, wow. This is a big, big, big question. Okay, so what Azazel told me, I asked him, because I was so frustrated with that question, and I actually The frustration was brought to a peak when I told my girlfriend, I believe in spirits, and she says, spirits aren't really real. It's all just energy. I thought, well, wait a minute. No, I've talked to them. I've seen them, and I've communicated with them. Of course they're real. And so I brought this question to his Oslo. So what's going on? Are you real? And he says, don't you see me? Am I not here in front of you? I go, well, wait a minute. Are you real or not? And he says, and I specifically asked him, do you exist outside of my observation of you? And he says, what exists outside of your observation of a thing? Can you name anything that exists outside of your observation of it? Well, of course you can't. And he says, you are brought into existence in the moment that I observe you. I'm brought into existence in the moment that you observe me. And then he went on to explain that we are basically in and I hate to use scientific terms because I'm not a scientist even in the least bit, but we're existing in a field of quantum possibility. And in that field of quantum possibility, we have embedded archetypes, that we have the idea of a Martian entity that's a masculine, aggressive, warlike entity or energy, and when we connect with that, it's going to appear as a warrior. Not because that's how it appears or that's how it exists on the astral plane. It exists as pure energy. And it presents itself to us in a way that is most identifiable to us. One of the questions that I've always wondered is why do spirits have arms and legs? They don't need those. We evolved those limbs in order to interact with our physical environment. They don't have a physical environment. And so they're appearing to us in that way so that we can more easily communicate with them. These aren't necessarily projections of our psyche. They are interactions of our psyche with the universe that surrounds us. But that universe that surrounds us isn't. It's extraordinarily malleable. I'm sitting here in my garden right now, and I've got grape trees and grapevines, peach trees, walnuts, and all of these things are possessing more space in them, in between each of the molecules, than there is molecules. There's empty space everywhere, but I'm not observing that empty space. I'm only observing the space in which there's a solidity that I can interact with. It's most useful to me to be able to pick a peach off of the tree, eat it, and taste the flavor. It's not at all useful to me to taste the nothingness that's there, which is more than what is actually there. So it's basically a matter of interacting with our world and our existence in a way that's most useful to us. So the way that I like to think of spirits at this point is pure energy, electricity. And that electricity is going to present itself in a way that we can interact with it. The funny thing about it is people get into this whole thing of, well, what does the spirit really want? Why is it going to work with you in the first place? Well, it's electricity. If I plug my refrigerator into an outlet, the energy is going to flow. If I summon a spirit forth, that energy is going to flow in the direction that I plug it into the actual device that I'm trying to use, and then it's going to flow towards the outcome that I desire. And it's all just electricity, but it's easier for me to interact with that as an entity that speaks English and has arms and legs than it is electricity.
Well, that video that I saw was amazing, and you eloquently just briefly described what you mentioned in that video on YouTube. And so I highly suggest everybody who's listening right now, if you go on YouTube, you can actually just type in E.A. Koetting, and you'll find his YouTube site there, his videos, and just watch them and check them out. They're amazing. There's another video that I actually saw just recently, earlier this week, about I believe it was the debate between you and Astrid, I think her name was, between black magic and white magic. And you sort of touched on that a little bit. And it was really interesting to hear both sides of the coin, even though I really wasn't on the white magic side of it. But what is the difference between choosing to be free and having free will, and those who desire selfishness or are deemed as selfish within the black magic realm or the left-hand path?
Well, first of all, I kind of have to go back to some of Ayn Rand's teachings of basically everything that we are doing is selfish. It's really the ability to see beyond the present moment that would make somebody go, oh, that was a good act, rather than a completely selfish act. Well, it's all selfish. One of the biggest joys that I have in life is being a father. I absolutely love being a father, and I do so many things that could be seen as being selfless for my daughter, but that's not true. I could easily just neglect that responsibility and walk away, but it feels so good to be a father, and so I do the things that are going to make me feel good. But the only difference is that I'm seeing beyond the present pleasure and seeing into the real good feeling of doing something. And so, I think maybe when you say the selfish acts, we could be talking about casting love spells on people to control them, to make them come to us, or thrusting our rage out into the world in order to terminate somebody's life, and those sorts of things that are more of an immediate response. And I mean, I cast curses on people and have had disastrous consequences and have done some serious harm from that. I have performed love spells that have completely ensnared people and brought them to me when they otherwise would not have. And I learned from that, and I learned that doesn't feel good. It does not feel good to be in a relationship with a zombie. Absolutely not. These are things that really, I think, come with some level of maturity that hopefully is learned somewhere along the way. But it's all selfish. It's all selfish. I much more prefer to be in a relationship with somebody who loves me just because they love me. I prefer to find solutions for my problems versus just destroying other people and therefore destroying my own peace and sanctity in life. That these are all higher levels of selfishness, if you will. So it's really just a matter of maturity. And I get I get the question a lot, as was asked early in this interview. Well, isn't this dangerous? Well, it is dangerous. It's in that not everybody's mature. I haven't been. I'm still not. I'm still a person who makes mistakes and goes, "Oh my God, I should not have done that." But people need not only to have their own experiences, but they also need to suffer the consequences of those experiences. And if they destroy themselves and they destroy others, that's part of the process. Right.
Now, forgive me for being all over the place with questions, but you've talked about summoning demons. I've heard you talk about that in videos and such to do your bidding. But why would a demon, and I'm sure a lot of people sort of may feel this way, why would a demon help the summoner and defy others?
Okay, so I talk about summoning demons, and I use the word demon because it's easily understood. People will go, okay, I can see what a demon is. But when we look at the demons, we look at any of the demons catalogs of any demonological essay or work, and you trace their etymological roots of even their name, you trace who they were, where these demonologists even got the concept of these demons from, and you trace it back, and you find these aren't denizens of hell serving under Satan. These are some of the first gods ever worshipped on this planet. You look at the demon Astaroth, and Astaroth originally was Astarte, the goddess of love. You look at Look at even Satan himself, and you can trace it back. You go, Satan, the being from the book of Revelation, the many-headed beast that destroys all things. Trace it back. That's Yam-Nehar, the ancient force of the unknown depths of the abyss that can devastate the life or can bring peace and can actually bring a level of order that is understood by the average mind, because it's a level of order that seems just to be chaos. That these things are these ancient beings, these ancient gods, once again, are some of the very first gods worshipped on this planet. These ancient gods that are now called demons are actually the inspiration for gods that are now called Yahweh, Jesus, and Allah. That they were stolen from these most ancient pagan religions. So why would they do anything for us? The answer to that kind of goes back to the fact that these are not necessarily embodiments that are human and that have arms and legs or have desires and passions in the same way we do. They're energetic currents, and we as humans living in this physical plane have a unique ability to plug in devices into these currents and channel them in a very specific way. And so why would they want to is the same reason why electricity would want to flow from your outlet into your refrigerator, because that's where the cord is going. That's where you have directed it. It's really a matter of just directing the energy in the direction that you want it to go.
Well, you've briefly talked about it, but you recently published a book called The Anthology of Sorcery Book 2 with 20 other amazing magicians and artists. Can you share with us what this book contains and how unique and prophetic it has become?
Yeah, this book, last year, it was early on in the year. Timothy, who's my partner at Become a Living God, he's the nuts and bolts end. He's the guy that actually makes my crazy visions come into fruition. He and I got on the phone, and he asked me, well, what would a dream team of magicians look like if you were to assemble a team of the best magicians in the world? Who would be on that list? And I go, well, I'd put this person and this person on it. And he goes, no, don't just say it. Let's write this down. Let's make this team just on paper. And so we start formulating that list. Once we have a pretty good list, he says, well, let's start contacting them and see if they want to do something with us, maybe do a book together. And so I do, and the outpouring of not just support but unification was amazing. And so these authors started pouring in their essays, articles, their artwork to be included in this anthology. And so we continued that into this year and just said, let's do a second edition and take this dream team, take some of the people that really just blew it away last year, and add some newcomers, add some people who maybe nobody has heard about, who have some ideas and have some power that they want to bring to the table and do the same thing. So we did that and came up with the Anthology Volume 2, which, it once again just has blown away our expectations as far as the quality of the philosophies and the practices that are out there. And so this book, The Anthology of Sorcery, Volume 2, is a collaboration of, at this point, the world's leading magicians. And by leading magicians, these are philosophers of our time. These aren't just people who are having some ideas that they want to share. Specifically in this edition, this second volume, we tasked everybody to not just write about whatever you want to, but give us your analysis of your relationships with different spirits, different families of spirits, different ancient gods. And really, once again, what we're talking about when we're talking about ritual is we're talking about communication with our environment, with our world. And when we get that specific with spirits, archetypes, gods, and systems, then we can get really specific about not just communication, but relationships. And so we started having this, once again, an outpouring of communication, essays, and artwork dealing with the relationships that these magicians have built with different energies and different systems, and specifically different spirits. And what this kind of brought out is that although these are currents that we can plug in, like we're plugging in appliances, that there is a sense of a personality there. There's a sense of an identity that not only wants to be known, but is really struggling to be known. The ancient gods are doing everything that they can to make contact with the human race, and they're doing it through these people who were included in this anthology. And so that the articles are all very, very specifically focused on the communications, the rituals, the experiences that these magicians have had with these different ancient archetypes, and what that's done for their lives and how they've used those to enhance their experience.
It's an amazing book and an amazing lineup of great magicians and artists in there. And like I said before, I can't wait. I want to get this book. But I have a question for you, and I'm not sure how you're going to answer this. You mentioned this earlier. So black magic becoming common or mainstream, or becoming sort of like science is now. Do you feel that in this process, or becoming common or mainstream, do you feel that it may lose something along the way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that it loses something, but I think it gains a lot more. What it loses is that sort of mystique. One of the big things it loses, and this is why I actually see so much, not so much, because there's not a whole lot, but this is why I see any opposition at all from the occult community, is because it makes it a lot less special. So, only a few years ago, really only before I started doing the work that I'm doing with Become a Living God, it was a really, really odd subject for people to be sitting around a coffee table talking about demons and ancient gods and black magic rituals. Now, what I've done is I've taken that and I'm still taking that and making a commonplace that we all need to be discussing the experiences that we have with our highest spiritual states. And once again, communication is absolutely key. And when that gets to be, you can get into any group of people and start having a conversation. They go, oh yeah, I actually was reading about this, or I watched this video, or I performed this ritual that I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, that makes it a lot less esoteric. That makes it a lot less special. The people who are hinging their own self-importance on knowing something that others don't know is lost. And that's kind of part of the point, is that well, let's stop talking about it. Let's stop gathering around coffee tables and just talking about how special we are because we know this stuff. Let's start using it. Here's what I've learned in experimenting with this, and by experimenting, I mean this whole world is my playground, and I am experimenting with every little grain of sand that I can find. And what I found is that there are no limits to this. If you want to change the world, you can apply ritual and change the world. And that's something that requires more than just knowing something that others don't know. It requires actually applying it, having the desire to change the world, having the desire to actually push that through ritual and see it to its end result. And that's something that I think a lot of people who were previously engaged in the occult had a hard time doing was putting this into extreme practice, into actually performing rituals that would have an effect on a global scale where you would see it in New York Times front page, and that's what's called for at this point. So it's going to take away that element of being special just because you know something that others don't know, but that's going to add something to the entire community, that the entire world, that if we all know that we have the power to change the world and we unite together to do so in a positive manner, this world's going to change, and it is changing in a massive way day by day, and that is not the benefit of this knowledge being disseminated to every individual is already changing the face of this world, and I see it daily, and it far outweighs the disadvantage of it being special. I mean, really, my ego likes to feel really cool that I know stuff that other people don't know, but there are bigger problems at hand than my ego.
Well, what's the one thing that you hope your readers and your followers take away from your wisdom and knowledge that hopefully will stay with them for years to come? I mean, is there one thing that you wish people to understand about you or black magic that will make them remember again tomorrow morning when they wake up?
You know, not about me or really even about black magic. Really, it's the same message that's been said by philosophers, prophets, and messiahs through the ages. Thou art God. There is no other. That is the one thing. There's stop worshiping others. Start worshiping yourself. Stop putting your allegiances towards anything external, because what's internal, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what's going on inside you is penultimate. And as you embrace who you are, you're embracing a god or a goddess, and that is going to change the world. That is the one thing. Stop underestimating yourself. I interact with so many people in so many different ways, and the big thing that I have to continually get them to understand is stop minimalizing and marginalizing who you are. That your rituals are taking effect. The communications you're having with spirits and you're having with the world around you and you're having with yourself are very, very real. The magic that you're performing and your manifestations are coming about. And as you realize that more, you're going to experience it more. If, we invoke the spiritual and we invoke the magical to teach us things and show us things. And it's going to continue to show us things and show us more things if we recognize it. If we actually say, oh, this was a magical thing. This was inspiration from the divine or from the diabolical, whichever side you want to go with. That this is something that's special. That I am something that's special. As each person embraces that more and more, we're going to find a lot less people that are reliant on things like government and religion, and a lot more people that realize they can handle their own problems. And that's really the goal that I want people to come to, is to the realization of their own omnipotence, because each and every one of us is a star.
That's amazing. I have to say that this has been an absolutely amazing interview, and literally I can listen to you for hours. And thank goodness for your YouTube videos. So where can our listeners go to learn more about you, your books, and get some helpful black magic advice?
Absolutely. And like you said, I fill up YouTube with as many videos as I can. I am on a mission. But if you want to kind of link to the main hub that I have everything going on at, it is becomealivinggod.com. And you go there. You can connect from there with my Facebook, my Instagram, everything that I have is linked right at becomealivinggod.com. And you can watch all of my videos there. You can also check out my videos that I have on YouTube, I'll have sometimes a couple hours worth of, a couple hour long videos of lectures and different mini courses and stuff like that. But then I also have full-on courses. 8 to 11 hour courses where you can learn divination, evocation, soul travel. I'm putting together a black magic course. You can check out the Anthology of Sorcery, these kinds of things. These are all linked right at DefiniteLife.com. So go there. That's the main central hub. You can sign up for a newsletter. I do a free newsletter that, once again, you can sign up for that completely free. You'll never, ever be charged for that. You can, and that'll give you updates as far as videos that are released, programs and products that we put out, and free stuff. Some stuff that is going to be required for subscribers only. None of that is really none of that is required for you to start engaging in your own spirituality. I've got tools that are completely free for people to start changing their lives 100%. I would say try that. Try the things that I have out there for free, and then when you start seeing them work, start checking out the other stuff that I have that I do charge for, because that's going to blow your mind. But at the end of the day, I do want each person to try this and prove it for themselves. Don't take my word for anything. Take your own word. Look at your own experiences, and you're going to see your life change in massive ways.
EA, thank you so much for coming on the show. We wish you all the best, and hopefully we can have you back on the show to talk about the next book you plan to create. Okay?
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thank
you so much. Thank you, EA. Have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was EA Koetting, guys and gals. What are your initial thoughts as you're just standing there with your mouth open?
I am absolutely blown away. I'm not sure exactly what I expected, and he's not what I expected. He makes some very valid points, as Sharon Swift said. A lot of what he says, I'm sitting here shaking my head, yes, because I truly do believe that we can change our reality. I believe that. I believe in manifestation. I've always have. I think he opens the door to a lot of things that people have these preconceived notions that magic is evil and it's bad. And, again, I blame media, and I believe, I believe that we get this idea of what it is, the stereotype witch, that's evil and all that. But what he's talking about is really knowledge. And knowledge has always been a dangerous thing. When you have knowledge, you have the ability to change your reality. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of the points that he makes, I agree with. I truly do agree with. I'm blown away. I really did enjoy speaking with him.
Well, again here, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the reasons why we want to do shows like this. This sort of correlates to when we had Corvus Nocturnum on to talk about the Church of Satan. It's sort of giving the truer side, the real side, or sort of the behind-the-scenes real guide to what people have put a sort of stigma to. And, I know a lot of people who, when you talk about black magic, the first thing that pops up is evil, is the devil, is Satan, is, and it's, again, what it's correlating to is the religious side of things. But when you really try and educate yourself, as we always try and say, if you research and educate yourself about these things, you'll understand a lot better. Now, I can't say right now that I fully understand and fully know all about the world of black magic and what they call the left-hand path. I don't. and I'm not going to say that I do, and I'm not going to admit that I do. So there may be things that I don't understand or don't know about yet that I should not be talking about now. But from what I've learned thus far, and I have not just studied E.A. Koetting or just only watched his videos. I have watched others as well, and they pretty much all say the same thing. They all have different takes on things, but the bottom line, the common denominator, is all the same, and it is the enlightenment of yourself. It is the awakening of yourself. It is the giving the power of yourself, and that's where EA gets the title, Become a Living God. It's you are becoming a living God. And I know, again, people put that negative connotation to becoming a living God because nobody can become a God. There is only one God. But again, that's the religious side of things. If you push that aside and understand what the meaning of become a living God actually means, you'll understand it a lot better. And, there are folks out there, and I don't like to bring this up, but it is the truth that there are a lot of people out there who are against E.A. Koetting, who do not like his teachings, and they are within the occult. They are within the black magic realm in that group. I don't know what their reasons are. I think it could be, a whole slew of things, one of which jealousy and ego and all of that plays into effect. As with everything else, you get that in all different groups, even the paranormal as well. But to truly understand what a subject is, you should really try and pick up a book, watch a video, and learn about it from the people who are within it. That's the only way that you're going to understand it. And that is the reason why we did the show tonight, and that's one of the reasons why I sort of asked Lucy if we could, get E.A. Koetting on the show, was to talk to him. I was really interested in his teachings and his words, in the videos that I saw on his YouTube, on his site there. Really were fascinating, profound in leaps and bounds. I mean, the way that this man speaks is, I'm intimidated to even speak to him because just the knowledge that he has and the way that he is so eloquent in speaking it just amazes me. And I, like Lucy said, I can listen to him for hours. Just replaying, and that's what I did. I just kept playing and playing and playing all his different videos and just learning and learning and learning more and more and more. Some things I may not have understood or may not have believed, but again, that's just my, what do you call it? I guess my pureness to the black magic world. I have not really fully developed into learning it all. So it really opened up my eyes to the idea that black magic obviously is not what mainstream media and what many religious groups claim it to be. Right off the bat, I can say that for sure. But understanding it, I think, and learning about it, not necessarily having to do the rituals or the magic, but I think understanding it and learning about it can not only open up your mind to and open up your eyes to what black magic is, but it actually sort of is like a mirror, and it reflects back at you and makes you sort of see yourself a lot better or a lot different. It makes you sort of question things for yourself, which is a good thing.
Well, see, what I get, I will admit when I first heard, Become a Living God, I was kind of taken aback by that a little bit. But again, like you said, it's the religious side. I have a little better understanding of it. It is feeling your own sense of power. It is awakening what's inside of you. And I can't help but think the Gospel of St. Thomas, where it says, the kingdom of God is within you. It is. I mean, that's the whole, to me, it's like that light just went on. It's like, the whole ability to exist in this world is really within yourself. It's not around the things that are around you. I mean, so many people want to blame, so many things the system, and they want to blame the way they were raised. But how you exist in this world has a lot to do with what is inside of you. You either take what's around you and you stay in it. It's like being in a puddle of mud that's really deep, and you either sit there and you just sink into it, or you make the conscious decision, I'm going to get out of this puddle of mud. How do you do that? Well, you have to be the one to lift yourself out. You're not always going to get that rope that's going to pull you out. And I think too many of us are waiting for that piece of rope to grab onto to move us to something else. It is what you have within you that makes you either sink or swim. And I think that is what I'm getting from this. Now, I will say one thing that he did mention, and this I truly believe, it is your intent. Regardless of whether you're doing these rituals and stuff like that, and I'm going to do a love spell, and I'm gonna make this person disappear. It is intent, and so many different beliefs. I can think of Native American. I can think of Wiccan. Everything that you put forth comes back to you. So if you're sitting there and you're deciding that I'm going to cause harm to someone, it's going to come back. It will come back, regardless if you call it black magic, white magic, if you call it voodoo, if you call it whatever. What your intent is what makes everything. It does the outcome. He mentioned consequences. Yes, that's a lot of people. I look at it every day here in Chicago. You've got people shooting each other left and right. Yeah, you have eliminated whoever is in your world. You've shot them. They're gone. But do any of these people think of the consequences? Your actions is going to bring something back to you. That, I think, is probably one of the biggest things that people forget. It is the intention. If you have an intent to do good and to make your reality better, then I think it will happen. But if you're sitting in this with this intent to do harm, to do negative, you're not going to get out of that hole. You're going to stay there. I mean, I learned a lot tonight. I really did learn a lot. And I mean, I know that there's more. And think about it. All the magicians, when we talk about magic through history, it's always hidden knowledge. And what is so dangerous? When everyone has that knowledge. When more people learn about it, then the restraints that are put on us, they kind of fall apart. They fall away. But as long as people are ignorant of the true knowledge, you can restrain them. You can keep them prisoner. And I think that is the key thing here, is getting that knowledge and freeing yourself. By freeing yourself, you will realize your own personal power. By realizing your own personal power, you change the reality around you. And if you're changing this reality here, my own little world, then everyone else's reality can change too. If everyone sat there and changed their own reality for the better, then yes, I think we can change the world. I believe it. I truly do.
How do you do that? How do you do it?
What? What?
How do you bring up about 6 different points in one conversation?
It's ADD. Go on.
You're amazing. I don't know how you're able to change shifts like that. I mean, it's good, but I don't know how you do that. One of the things that I get an enjoyment of, obviously not just doing the show, but while talking to the guests and talking about subjects, all different types of subjects within the paranormal and outside the paranormal as well, but mainly within the paranormal, what I find most enjoyable is that I'm able to pick apart things that are or things that I can sort of jot down in my book of knowledge to try and understand the paranormal, to try and understand the spirit world and the afterlife, life after death, whatever you want to call it, the reason why we are here, all of those questions and things that I ponder about, and a lot of people ponder and think about. I find it fascinating and enjoyable, comforting, warming to be able to speak to people who are within all of these different sectors and understand not only just what they do within that realm, but also be able to pick out and pull out the information that they're gathering of the spirit world and of the universe and of the afterlife. And one of the things that fascinated me, especially about E.A. Koetting, was that video that when he talked about Azazel and the communication that he had with Azazel about what spirits are and what he meaning Azazel, told E.A. about it. And, I had to actually watch it twice because it was so profound and it was so mind-blowing, because it was sort of on that quantum physics, quantum mechanics level. It really, truly was. And it really gave me an insight as to, okay, here's another link that I'm able to connect with what I have already been thinking about and been researching about and been writing about, and understanding what his conversation was with Azazel and what he feels, what EA feels, is the whole realm of black magic and the occult, and the idea and the feelings and what he just described tonight about what he goes through during a ritual, and all of those three sectors and those three areas that he described truly gave me the chills that made me understand the paranormal a little bit better. Obviously, we are not going to understand it a whole lot more, but it's giving me those clues, and it's giving me a little bit more of an insight to it, which I'm finding, again, is that link, is that web, is that invisible thread that we always talk about. And when he talked to Azazel about that, and it just clicked in me that, he wasn't saying that spirits don't exist, but he was explaining sort of how they exist and how our mind and our consciousness works and how we view our reality. I made that joke a long time ago, and Lucy always makes fun of me about it, that, are we in some sort of matrix? Are we in some sort of, not video game, but are we in some sort of self-created life? Are we creating what we are seeing in front of us? Are we creating the experiences that we are having? And in essence, we are. And in essence, we're not at the same time. I don't understand that completely. I'm trying to wrap my arms around that whole area at this moment. And as I'm gathering information from all of the guests that we talk to and all of the books and videos and websites that I go through, I can't fit a hat on my head anymore because my head is filling up so much. It's truly an amazing period of time right now for me personally. But I'm enjoying this more because I'm able to share that with all of you, with everyone who's listening and everyone who follows us, that we can all at least gather some information or pieces of information from all of the guests that we talk to and all of the topics that we talk about that hopefully will help answer some of the things that you have been questioning and put the puzzle pieces back together for you, because I know it's doing it for me. And I'm hoping that one day, I'll have a sort of better understanding where I can truly stand up and say with 100% confidence what it really is, from what I believe at that moment. I won't be completely right because I'm not dead. The only way that you're going to know the truth is when you're dead. It's point blank is when you're dead. But what I'm saying is the point at which that I can truly stand up and say, I know because of every ounce of knowledge and inner power or inner energy that I have, I can say XYZ is what the afterlife is all about. And in turn, what that'll do is give me sort of the answers to what life is about. And I truly find that to be amazing.
Well, every show that we do, everyone that we talk to, just solidifies the thought that the world, reality, is much bigger than me. What I see, what I hear, what I believe, there's a whole lot more out there that I don't know. And I'm continually learning. Every person we talk to, I learn something. Tonight, it's weird. I just developed a theory when he was talking about the spirits, and when he was talking about not letting go, trying to manifest something, creating a reality, and the hardest thing is to let go. So why is it do spirits appear to us, that they have arms and legs and that, when they're energy, they're energy. And energy really doesn't have a form. It doesn't have a shape or anything like that. I mean, as far as I know. But part of it could be that not letting go. Let's say on the other side, you go to the other side, your energy is there. It's still the same energy. You're still the same being. But because you have always had hands and arms and legs, could it be on the other side that those souls are not letting go of that figure? Instead of morphing into the energy that they are, they're still holding on to the fact that I have arms and I have legs and I have to look like that. So is this why we see them? I mean, sometimes we see, you see a shadow figure, or you may see, some kind of mist. What's the difference? Why is it that we see some things in a mist form, and then again, some people see full apparitions? I have not been lucky enough to see someone truly manifest into a whole apparition, with arms and legs. But is this possibly why? Could it be that particular person on the other side isn't letting go of who they were?
But could it also be that it is our manifestation of that energy into a physical form, because a physical mind's ability to be able to see something, or it's sort of like, like those things those toys that used to get in cereal boxes, and like the decoder things that used to get in like the cereal boxes. You'd have a piece of cardboard that had all these colors on it or whatever, and you really couldn't see anything on it until you took that red circle and moved that red plastic circle over those colors. You're able to actually see what's beneath all of those colors, and you can see the words or the letters or the pictures or whatever it is. Could our physical mind be that decoder that is transforming that energy into what that energy represented in the physical form as the physical body? So are our minds creating the physical form into our reality, when in fact that body or that apparition is not actually there? It's just the actual energy, which either can be seen or not seen, is within your reality, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, but I look at it this way, though. If that's the case, then why do we all just see, why don't we just all see apparitions? Why do we see mist? Why do we see shadow figures? Why do we see the different things that we see? If it was our perception.
Well, I don't have an answer for that, though. No, but I don't have an answer for that because obviously I don't know the answers to that. But what I think I could say as a sort of preschool-like answer to that is, possibly the energy is very faint. It is not strong enough. Like when your battery is dying, it's not giving the fullest amount capacity of power that it could be. And so therefore, could that energy not be giving off as much as it could be? And therefore, your mind is not able to decode. You can't, your red plastic circle is not able to fully see what it is, because for some reason you may have poured water on that decoder paper, and so it sort of smudged it. And so therefore, that energy is not at its 100% capacity. And so when you put that decoder on it, you're not able to see it fully. Could that be that as well? That could be that. That's the reason why we see mists and dark, dark shadowy mist figures and not full apparition figures. That's my hypothesis, my guesstimate. That is not an answer to what it is. So please do not take it that way.
I'm not. But I mean, I agree with you. I do agree that maybe, sometimes we want to see something so badly, and then when we do see something, our mind puts it into that form. Okay, we see the arms and the legs, and we see a full person there, in dress that they used to wear. But I still believe that there is a difference. I mean, if everything is energy has no set form. So I think that I think there are different forms of energy. There could be different things out there. I don't have the answers either. But as we go along, and the more that we see and experience when we investigate, just kind of opens up my little catalog where I put things in that I've seen and I've heard and I've experienced. And there's so much out there. I mean, like you said, we won't know the answers till we're on the other side. So all of this, I still have to catalog all this and keep this in my own book of knowledge. And who knows, maybe I'll have the answers. Maybe I'll come back and say, you know what, Anthony, you were absolutely right. I seriously doubt it, but maybe someday I will come back and see that. But as far as to this point right now, what I do believe that we're energy, and when we go to the other side, we're energy. But I still think that there are different forms. I still think maybe there are different levels, that we hit on the other side. Who knows?
Well, I think what you first have to do is get out of your mind that there's only just one type of energy. When you think of energy, don't think of yes, think of electricity, but don't think of electricity, because electricity is just one form. Mm-hmm. Don't think of it as that. Think of it as a living energy, as energy that is alive. That it's to me, the energy that is within the afterlife. I believe, yes, we all do have energy. I believe we have a consciousness as well. I believe that consciousness is the energy in itself. Universally, oneness, whatever it is. I don't think there's an actual earth term that can describe what this is. And so when your physical body ceases to exist on this plane, your energy, your consciousness, your coupled energy and consciousness move on. Now, energy, as we know in the science world, does not die. It is not created and is not stopped. Therefore, it continues on. And so, I believe that the afterworld or the afterlife is where our energy goes. Where that is, what that is, I have no idea. But that energy that's formed, or that energy that leaves you, which contains your consciousness, is able to contain your personality, your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, everything about you. It's you. It's the essence of you. And so therefore, it's sort of like a code. And I hate to keep going back to that decoding thing, but it's sort of like a code. You're stamped. You're the prisoner of life. Every prisoner has their own set of numbers and letters. You have a sort of code on you. And so I think when that spirit comes to communicate with the living, your physical mind is decoding it to then create the manifestation as it was here on Earth, or it is creating what the energy and the consciousness wants you to see it as. It can be that you are you have transformed yourself either within the afterlife or right before the afterlife, and so therefore your energy and your consciousness has tweaked, has changed a little bit, and so you may not come back as being Lucy. I may not see you as Lucy, and so you may have transformed into the afterlife to something that is more universal, more of the oneness within the dimensions that are out there. And so what that form is, my physical earthly body cannot decode yet, or it's not able to actually physically decode. We can go into so many different ladders and stairs into trying to understand this. And again, that's my guesstimate. That is a hypothesis, that is a theory, that is not something that I truly say is the truth. So again, don't take my word for it.
Well, okay. And then another thing that comes to mind too, it's like, let's say, we know how certain conditions on this side affect things. Something freezes and water freezes and all of a sudden it's solid. Could there be, because we don't know what is on the other side, could there be different conditions on the other side that affect how something comes back and appears to us?
Yes, and that's when you get into the quantum mechanics of things and when you're talking about the different dimensions. And so therefore, we can, we obviously, right now, we cannot see the other dimensions, but the other dimensions can see us. And so how they can see us, it's because they're on a different level. Either they have, they either are more enlightened, more awakened, they are more educated, more knowledgeable. Whatever it is, I don't know. But they've gained the access to be able to see below. And so therefore they can see us, we can't see them. How that happens, I don't know. I don't even know if that even truly exists. That's what some of the folks and researchers have talked about, and that's what sort of quantum mechanics and quantum physics is leading to, that there are these multiple dimensions, and therefore, they can, there are things that are within the dimensions and the realities in other dimensions can travel within our dimension, but we can't yet there. And that's why there's this whole thing about quantum physics and time travel and being able to do that and being able to split the dimensions and go into the slice of one and be at that moment, but also be in the moment of this dimension. It truly will blow your mind if you keep talking about and keep reading about quantum mechanics. I don't know how those people do it, but if it's something that interests you, I highly recommend at least getting the basics and the basic knowledge of quantum physics and quantum mechanics.
Well, I'm glad you're there to help explain some of this stuff, because it's way over my head sometimes. But
it's way over my head too.
But you have a way of at least explaining it to me where it kind of like makes sense. I mean, sometimes some of this stuff I look at it and I expose myself to it, and it's like, whoa, it's just like, okay, it's like I have no clue and I don't know where to start. And, when we talk it out, a lot of times that little light comes on. It's not a full light bulb, but it's kind of like it's like a little flashlight kind of blinking, and I kind of see like, oh yeah, that's it. But as I said, it's still a learning process. I'm still learning. I'm always going to be learning. I'm going to be learning until I go to the other side. And who knows, once I get to the other side, I'm probably going to be faced with a whole bigger book of knowledge that I have to address. So, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It really is.
And I know I'm going to get booed, and I'm probably going to get hate mail for this, but, I think one of the things that is helping me understand a lot of these things more than you're understanding it, I think, this is only, sort of my perception of it all, is you still have in your mind religion. And
yes.
you you tend to compare a lot of things, and you just did it just earlier. You know, you compared a Bible verse to E.A. Koetting's talking, and which is kind of a, it's sort of ironic to be able to do that because you can't. In his world, you really can't. But I think you're holding on to that more so and using that knowledge of religion in comparison for things. And, all right, everybody calm down. I think it's holding you back a little bit. I think it's impeding your acceptance of some things and your knowledge of it. I can only say that because I've been able to sort of take what I've been indoctrinated as a young child, my religion, and move it aside. I'm not saying that I don't believe or that I don't whatever. I'm having a hard time believing. You know, I really wish I could 100% at this moment in time believe it, but I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't. But I've just moved it to the side so that I can understand a lot of these other things, because what I've been indoctrinated into has told me that I can't be opening up a book about black magic or about the Church of Satan or about ghosts and spirits or about the paranormal. That's what they're telling me that I should not be doing. I should not be doing that that's evil. And so I've moved it aside so that I can learn about it, and I'm learning so much more, and I'm understanding a lot more. That's making me hard. It's making it hard to believe more of the indoctrinated religion that I've understood for so many years. And so I don't compare what I've learned there to what I'm learning now, and it's helping me. It's sort of broken me free from that, and so I'm able to accept more. Maybe that's what it's doing for you. I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. But maybe that's something you may want to think about. I'm not saying get rid of your religion, but I'm just saying think about it. Try not to compare so much, maybe, if you still want to keep with what you're learning within your religion.
Well, you're absolutely right, but you got to understand, I've got two different sides here. Okay. But we're talking Native American and we're talking Catholic, so there's a lot of things there that have to, I have to do. But anyway, we're down to 3 minutes, so let's go and do some business here. Let's go to the Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week. And one of the beautiful things about being on YouTube and our global presence is that we've got fans all over. And this week we have, from Poland, Ella Kreft. She likes John Lennon, Teresa Caputo, ABBA, Ed Sheeran, Robert De Niro, and of course she likes Paranormal Review Radio. Thank you so much, Ella, for being a fan. Thank you for liking things on our Facebook page, and congratulations.
Ella Kreft from Poland. Thank you so much. Congratulations to you. And don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, just like us on Facebook and on YouTube at Paranormal Review Radio.
Okay, well, you know what? Everyone does want some kind of control over their world, and there are many ways that people attempt to gain that control. Hopefully tonight opened up a doorway for you to show you that maybe there are different ways to do it, making your own reality. Magic is just a form of making that reality what you want. Should you choose the path of magic, just remember the responsibility to learn exactly what you're doing and what that result can be. Will it change the way you think, act, or believe? Only you can answer that. Whatever you do, your intent will shape what you manifest. Choose your results wisely and never seek to harm others. Tonight was a very interesting night, and we hope you enjoyed it. Now, from World War II to the present, there have been hidden within the highest levels of government secrets things that you are not supposed to discover. There have been, periods from 1940 to this day where the power brokers working from their positions of trust have committed and covered up some of the most heinous crimes known to mankind. Craig Roberts is an investigative journalist, a former Marine, a policeman, and the author of the Medusa Files, Secret Crimes and Cover-Ups of the U.S. Government. In his book, Craig is going to share with us some of the results of his 10-year investigation regarding the secret crimes and cover-ups of the U.S. government. What kind of things have been covered up and how deep does it go? Be here next Friday night to learn what has been hidden from the public. Thank you, everyone, for spending another 2 hours with us. You're all so very special to us, and we do appreciate your love and support. Thank you, Anthony, for another great show. So until next time, dear friends, manifest your own reality and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Paranormal Review Radio. Paranormal Review Radio.